right, Matthew. Hey, congratulations on My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3.
Thank you very much.
Hey, it's wonderful. I love the setting, Greece and all. It makes me feel like I want to go there myself. But let's ask that obligatory question of like how are you brought on board to this project?
I was very fortunate to be asked to come on board by our production designer, Grant Armstrong, who I'd worked with a few times before. And he called me. In fact, it was quite a while before it actually started, but he called me and he said, "Oh, Matt, I know you've got young kids and a family, and I'm obviously based in London." He said, "But I'm going to Greece to do My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. How do you fancy 4 months away in Greece?" And I don't think he even got to the end of the sentence before I sort of jumped on the opportunity. So I was very, very, very lucky to be invited out to such a wonderful place and for such a wonderful experience.
Now, before we proceed further, tell us the difference between an art director and a production designer. I know a lot of people don't know, the film business.
It's a good question. So the production designer works very closely with the director and the DOP. That's not to say that my paths don't cross with those guys. And I was very fortunate that on Greek Wedding 3, I got to spend a lot of time with Nia and Barry with Grant to kind of drive the look of the film. But a production designer ultimately is sort of the lead creative to create the look of the film, reading the script, talking to the director, the DOP, if it's that sort of a film where you do develop concept art to get a lookbook, the real sort of high and blue sky thinking. So they've got to be in the clouds, not really necessarily thinking about budget or logistics at that point. And then the flip side of that being me, the supervising art director, it's kind of my responsibility to inherit those looks and those sets or those locations and dial down a bit more into how we achieve it. What are we building? What are we not building? What might become visual effects? How we fit those things onto a stage, and working very closely with the art directors and the construction department to achieve the reality, and obviously then getting involved with the myriad of other departments on a production, from special effects to visual effects to stunts to props, and just making sure everybody's getting what they need, everybody's getting their time to achieve the look for the director and the designer, hopefully in time before they start filming on it.
So how do you describe Nia's vision for this film, and what's your approach towards that?
Nia's vision for this film was very clear. Obviously, it's the whole thing is Nia's brainchild, so it's all there in the script. It's come from Nia's mind, her imagination, obviously her history with her franchise. And what was great about Nia, we had a plethora of places where we could have shot many of these different sequences in Greece. That we had the coastline, all the islands. And what was great about Nia is, even though the vision is incredibly clear in what she wants to achieve, and like I say, it's all there on the page, it was very, very refreshing to go to a location that might not necessarily have been what was on the page, but because of the natural inherent beauty in a lot of these places, or the geography of something, Nia was able to sort of make it fit within these amazing places that we were so lucky to go to. So it was very refreshing to see a sort of fluidity within that sort of driven nature of, this is the story, this is what we need to achieve, and very open to collaboration as well, which was so refreshing because, Grant particularly, and Barry as well, there was ideas that would come up, and it was like, well, what if we slightly did it like this, or we look this way, or we shot it in a certain way, or we provided a different sort of set or dressing. And Nia's just so positive and really took a lot of that on board. And it became a real sort of family experience in terms of bouncing ideas around and getting them enveloped into the final product. So very, very privileged to witness that all happening in real time.
Now, I understand that you worked with Grant multiple occasions before. Could you tell us about that relationship that you have with Grant? Why does it work so well with him?
Why does it work? Why does it work so well with Grant? So Grant, first and foremost, he's an immense talent, and he's an absolute leader. And I think what gives Grant a really great edge over a lot of people is he's always trying to smile. He's always trying to make other people smile, and he sees the fun in and what we're very privileged enough to do within our industry. You know, yes, it's hard. Yes, it can be trying at times and things can go against you, but Grant's always sort of going through with this amazing positivity. And it makes you just want to, you want to follow him on that path. So to see him sort of bouncing around all these amazing sort of places in Greece and these locations and finding this look that wasn't necessarily what we started out thinking we were doing, going back to finding locations that we were like, oh wow, this is so amazing. That's not something we expected. Grant just, he takes it in, he kind of chews on it a little bit, and then it all just comes out. And again, particularly him and Nia's relationship was just one of really bouncing stuff back and forth and finding the best, most creative solution for the task at hand. He's a real doer.
Now, of course, the locations are beautiful, and a lot of us would think that you didn't have to build anything, but you did. And I believe the house was the major thing that you had to build.
Yeah. So yeah, we found the Buas village out in Corfu, which offered us so much, and it really did sort of tie up with Patades, which was the real village up in the mountains. There wasn't a huge amount of connective tissue that we needed to bring between those two. We obviously things in terms of dressing and certain little construction elements, but one thing that Buas didn't have was the house, the pale green house, as it was referred to in the script. So we had to find a way of sort of kludging an interior onto an exterior facade, and our wonderful Greek art director Daphne took that on, and the construction team out there led by Dimitri. It was a real triumph, and the look that we managed to get in there, the sort of, like I say, it wasn't a lot of the time we were thinking about early on. It's a very white stone, quite clinical art style of architecture. What we managed to take advantage of in Patades and Buas village was the more sort of Venetian style of architecture that you see in Corfu. So you do get an opportunity to play with color a bit more and finding that color for that interior. It was described as the pale greenhouse. It ended up not being green. So yeah, just finding all those little details and creating that environment, because even though the house in the film has been sort of long abandoned, once the dust sheets had been pulled off and once some candles had been lit, we still needed to find that family sort of hub that the Portokalos family find themselves in, and I think the vision that Grant had and with Nia's input, I think we really achieved it. It was a great build to put on an existing location.
Now, in the script, was it always a one-room house, or was that basically a convenience for Barry to film everything all in one set?
No, it was always sort of described as an open plan sort of one-room house, which we ended up deciding that to kind of suggest more beyond that we couldn't see, and to create the sort of derelict look. We did put a staircase in the corner of the house, which was sort of decrepit and crumbled. So we sort of suggested that there was more beyond that we couldn't access due to strict Greek health and safety legislation. So yeah, we ended up having this maybe slightly exaggerated open plan space, but with a kitchen, and it still had its little pockets of that's the dining area and that's the sleeping area, which was sort of lovingly put together by Mike Standish, our set decorator. And even though it was sort of one space, it did have a flow, and it did have a sort of, like I say, it did have this little demarcation. And throughout the film, there's a bed that's dragged over there, and then Aunt Vula's in a bed over there. So it did have this sort of organic process of starting out this decrepit, sort of almost haunted Greek interior, and then just increasing a bit of warmth and increasing the Portokalos' touches that they've put in and sprucing up a little bit, and it coming to life a lot more. But yeah, it was a really nice space.
Well, you could have fooled me. You could have fooled a lot of people that's a real house over there in Greece that you guys filmed. So Matthew, you done a terrific job. Thank
Oh,
you
thank you very much.
for carrying this conversation for us behind the scenes for My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. It's a wonderful movie. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.